She pulls out her phone as she's looking dead at me, right in front of me, and dials 911. She dials 911 and tells them, wow, like, this is crazy. Fast forward a few months later, some other incident happened. Not incident, but some other argument, disagreement, whatever happened. And my cousins, they were just moving in town to the same city and town that I was in. So now I had some extended family in the area, and they asked me to help them move early that morning. So I think it was like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I went to my cousin's. It took longer than I thought it would. I mean, I was gone for like 7, 8 hours, helped them all day, whatever. And I got back home around 6, 7 o'clock. When I got back home, she was still in a bad mood, still kind of carrying that same energy from 8 hours earlier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely been like that before. Because the issue wasn't resolved for whatever reason, but that day she still was. And I peeped that, I saw that, and I didn't want to deal with it. I literally hate being in that energy. I hate, like, when things aren't good. So I didn't even want to deal with it. I was just like gonna focus on my business that I had started at the time. I'm gonna look at the stock markets, look at the stocks that I'm studying, and then studying the material that I got from my mentorship. So I used to do my work at the kitchen table. My laptop would be there and my notebooks and whatever I was using to study and write down my notes. And I just sat there when I got back. And I just start working. She comes a few minutes later and she just starts talking about something. But again, like, you could hear it in her tone. It's not like she's wanting to be, what's the word? Like, just coming to a solution. It just sounds like she just wanted to just start something, not actually solve the issue, talk about it, communicate. So I verbally tell her, like, I don't want to speak right now. I don't want to talk. Please leave me alone. She didn't like that. And it's funny because down the line in a relationship, like, when she would always do that, she would expect me to honor that, respect that, okay, we can talk later. But when it was time for her to do that, that same thing was not reciprocated. But anyways, she didn't respond to that. She just kept talking. So I grabbed my earphones. I put them in my ear. Because I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to be quiet. I said, I don't really want to talk right now. Please leave me alone. And you're still talking. So I put my earphones in. Next thing you know, she yanks my earphones out of my ear, pulling my ear with it. So just like pulling the whole thing, my earphones flies out my ear, like she yanks on my ear. And obviously, now I'm like frustrated because I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you putting your hands on me? Why are you touching me? And why do you feel this is appropriate? Like, what are you doing? And then again, of course, it gets to a tussle. And I'm like, give me my earphones. She picked up my earphones. I'm like, give me my earphones back. Give me my earphones back. Fighting over that. I had water on the table that I was drinking. I always get my gallon in. She took my water, threw it at me and my laptop. So now my entire laptop was wet and there's water all over my face and my shirt. It's the second time that she escalated it to a physical level. This is important, which we'll get to down the line. Haven't touched her. After that, again, now I'm like more frustrated, more upset, and now yelling and fighting verbally ensues. And this happens for like, oh man, probably, I don't even know, an hour or two. And I got up because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna remove myself from the situation. I went to like, I don't remember where I went first, but I know I moved to different areas in the house several times. I went to the bedroom. She followed me to the bedroom. I went back out to the living room area, sat on the couch. She followed me there the entire time, just yapping, you know, instigating, trying to provoke me, etc. After like a few minutes or 20, 30 minutes, I don't know, the whole thing was about 2 hours-ish. Then she's like, oh, I want you to do something. I want you to hit me. And by this point, I had gotten up, and I remember there was like a hallway, like a little hallway walkway area. And we're standing there like a few feet away from each other. And she's saying this. Well, actually, before this, there was a tussle with my laptop because I was carrying my laptop with me as I was moving around the house. Again, trying to remove myself from the situation, diffuse the situation. At one point, she grabs my laptop and like, to this day, my laptop is still messed up. But she grabs my laptop and like, I'm holding it and she's pulling it and it like undoes itself. To this day, this is from that situation. That screw came out, her pulling it and whatever. So then we end up in that interaction where we're standing in the hallway, and now she's starting with this, oh, get out of my house again, thing. And your name is not on the lease, blah, 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 blah. But I paid her rent and I gave her the money for rent, portion of the rent every month. I contributed not only financially, but in multiple areas. Cleaning the house, she had a kid, anything that she needed for herself personally. Like, you know, it wasn't like I was a bum or anything, or I was just leeching. Then I'm like, well, if I'm leaving, you gotta return the money I gave you for rent, and etc. Now, at this time, when she was saying stuff like this, a few months had passed by from the first time she said it. So I kind of started to like realize like she would just say this as like a bluff. Trying to call a bluff and like didn't think I would really go. But when she said it again this time, I didn't believe her. I just felt like she was talking, whatever. Then when I told her, no, I'm not going anywhere. And especially if you aren't going to give me the money back that I just gave and contributed towards the rent, I'm not going anywhere. Because in my head, I'm like, this is gonna blow over, you know, by the next day, this is gonna be done. And unfortunately, these little outbursts or whatever was kind of normal by now. So then she goes, oh, well, I'm gonna call the cops then. And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking to myself, whoa, this is a new one. I haven't heard this one yet. So now we go from I'm kicking you out the house to I'm gonna call the cops. Now, I've never had the cops called on me, never had any interactions with the police, you know, like that, unless it was like a ticket or something. And I know, like, I'm a good citizen, I'm a decent citizen, I don't be doing nothing to people. So I thought she was just talking. It was just more talk, more nonsense, and whatever. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, call the cops. Like, I didn't do nothing. You literally started everything tonight. You've been instigating everything tonight. Like, whatever. She pulls out her phone as she's looking dead at me, right in front of me, and dials 911. She dials 911 and tells them, oh, we have a domestic situation. It's been escalating. He's being really aggressive, and can you send somebody over? He's not wanting to leave. I think that was like the first time in that relationship where I literally, like, I couldn't even believe what I was looking at, who I was looking at, and what I was seeing and hearing. Deadass, yes, he's being aggressive after she spent the entire night following me around. I would remove myself from each area. She would follow me to the new area. And I was the aggressive one. I couldn't believe it. Then, I think like 10, 15 minutes later, the cops came and knocked on the door. They asked to speak to us separately and asked what was going on. And I told them my side, she told them hers. To the other officer, two of them came, and I was like, I literally just got home a few hours ago. I wasn't here all day. She was just in a terrible mood. Still, when I came back, I removed myself from the situation like several times. She continued to follow me, and now she's telling me that I should leave, even though she just took my money for rent this month. And he was like, oh, you pay rent? I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm not on the lease, but I'm still contributing every month. I showed him the paper trail of me paying every month. And he was like, well, yeah, he's right. If he's paying every month and contributing to the rent, this isn't the first month. You can't just tell him he has to go. You have to give him his money back. Or at the end of the month, you guys go your separate ways. After getting the stories from both of us, they asked her initially, hey, do you have somewhere else to go tonight? She says, no, my son is here. I can't find somewhere else. The entire time her son was in the room, he probably woke up and heard some of that stuff, which was terrible. But then they came to me. They asked me, hey, do you have anywhere to go that night? I said, yeah. Luckily, it was the same night that my aunt and my cousins had moved. They lived 5 minutes away. Luckily, I was able to go there that night. So I went in the room, I grabbed a bag. They just, they told me to pack some stuff, for at least the night. I packed stuff for a few days. And then they kind of like waited and escorted me out to my car, and I left. And I'm 100% like lucky and grateful that it was two cops that had common sense and could see through the BS. I'm 100% lucky, because that night could have gone totally different. And I remember getting to my aunt's house. I didn't tell them anything. I just, asked if I could sleep over for the night. And I just laid in bed like for the rest of the night. I don't even think I really went to sleep, because I couldn't believe it. Again, this was somebody, I don't even know why I trusted them, but this was somebody I expected, to have my back, to trust, love, care for, all the above. And they sat there and lied and said, like, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was aggressive, and actually called the cops on me. Now, I know if I was actually doing something, there's no way I could be mad. There's no way I could feel some type of way. Because I know I was doing something, you know? If I know I was putting my hands on you, that's crazy to be mad knowing I did it. When I know I didn't, when I know I tried every single way to diffuse the situation, and then you sit there and play victim and you tell them that I'm being the aggressor, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. But that alone, like, what was also crazy to me was at that time, there was a lot of, and for the past few years before then, there was a lot of shootings of Black African American males. So to call 911 on your significant other that's not doing anything to you and tell them that he's being aggressive after seeing all of these things on the news. And I remember she had made a post at the time about how sad it is seeing all these Black men die, and that something she has to worry about is her son growing up in this country as a Black man. But then yet a few weeks later, you call the cops on your Black boyfriend who was not threatening your life, who wasn't doing anything, and potentially putting his life in danger. The cops could have came, oh, he's being aggressive, guns drawn out from the jump, kicking down the door, like any of those things could have happened. Thankfully they didn't. Thankfully the cops were professional, respectful, and like listened to what I had to say. Not just her, but man, the betrayal was insane, absolutely insane. You know what she did? The same thing as she did the first time. A few hours later, blowing up my phone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. It was so wrong. I remember the next morning, we had been talking about therapy for the longest time. She finally got a therapist. She sent me receipts. She spent $150 for a session with a therapist. She showed me the location. Again, after things get so terrible, is now when you want to communicate. It's now when you want to put in effort to try and make things better. It's now, like, let's work things out. Let's do this calmly. Let's do this respectfully and as adults. Now, this was like the second major time where I'm trying to process what the hell is going on. Like, how you say you love somebody and this is what you're doing? How you say you care about somebody and this is what you're doing? Not only that, just having the cops called on me was crazy. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a Karen on the street. It was somebody you lived with. It was a significant other. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So that really messed me up for a few days and the next few weeks. But you know what I did? Again, after a few weeks, or after a few days, that's even worse. after a few days of notes, text messages, like just blowing up my phone, I'm reading the messages and I'm starting to think again, like, oh, maybe she really means it. Maybe she changed. Maybe this is my fault. Now, there's 100% things that were my fault in the relationship. But again, it does not justify the level of craziness, abuse, manipulation, whatever you want to call it. It does not justify that level. It does not justify jeopardizing somebody's life, trying to get them thrown in jail or shot and killed. But yeah, a few days later, 4 or 5 days later, after hearing all the sob stories and I'm gonna do better and I'm sorry, it was me and everything, I fell for it again. I went back to the house to talk, to try and figure out a solution, what we're gonna do going forward. And the cycle just repeated itself and repeated itself and repeated itself. So when I say it's probably your fault, it's because of decisions like I made. Now, again, I didn't entirely know at the time. I really thought some of those things were normal. I used to hear people say relationships are hard, relationships are hard. That shit was hard. So I thought that was the hard shit they were talking about that happened in relationships. I didn't know that was toxic. I didn't know that was abuse. I didn't know that was manipulation. I thought that was normal stuff that happened in the relationships. And again, I was willing to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. But again, if you respect yourself, it's why we talked about self-respect and putting yourself first in the first few videos, you won't be in a situation like that. Somebody calls the cops on you knowing damn well you didn't do anything. If you respected yourself, if you valued yourself, you would not stay in that situation and continue staying with this person. That's your fault. If you catch somebody doing something they're not supposed to do and you choose to stay, you gotta deal with the consequences. That's your fault. If you don't take the time to vet somebody, really get to know somebody, and all these different situations happen, that's your fault. You gotta take accountability. You gotta be aware of the consequences of your actions. Now, some things may not be your fault, but it's always your responsibility to fix it. There's always something you could have done to fix it. There's always something you could have done to make it better, or that you could have done to work on. So that was the video First time saying this out loud. Hopefully y'all learned something from it. And that's just a few stories, two of dozens of stories that I have. So anyways, deuces. Thank you guys. Please subscribe if you like the content in the channel. Please leave a like and a comment. And adios.